My husband and I have always been incredibly close. However, during a recent trip, I discovered a side of him that I never knew existed. Now, I'm torn between forgiving him and walking away, but there's a twist. I've met someone new. We were introduced to each other by a mutual friend, and our relationship quickly blossomed into love and eventually marriage. Not long after we began dating, my husband introduced me to his best friend from middle school, Emma. Emma was also in a relationship at the time. Our weddings were planned just a month apart, and during the preparations, we often met up to exchange information and chat. Emma, who is also my age, became a good friend, and we occasionally kept in touch. We attended Emma's housewarming party, bringing gifts and enjoying the evening. Emma lived about a 30-minute drive away, and it was easy for us to visit each other's homes for game nights or meet up at the cinema for double dates. We shared produce sent by our parents and grew incredibly close. My husband loves to drink, and so does Emma's spouse. Emma prefers non-alcoholic drinks, while her spouse feels a meal is incomplete without alcohol, often indulging in a drink or two. Emma expressed concern over this, and I too felt uneasy about my husband's drinking habits, which I otherwise adore. We both work and contribute to a joint account for our living expenses, setting aside personal allowances, which my husband often spent on alcohol. Emma managed their finances, but their expensive wine purchases and late-night gatherings often led to arguments. My husband and Emma believe life without alcohol is dull and uninteresting. As we approached our second wedding anniversary, we decided to celebrate with a trip to the beach. While catching up with Emma, we mentioned our plans, and they suggested a great resort by the sea, proposing we go together. We ended up booking a spacious suite with 2 bedrooms and shared our days, renting a single car for excursions. Emma diligently researched restaurants and attractions. The trip was refreshing, dining at renowned eateries and enjoying the company of dear friends. Both my husband and Emma indulged in alcohol throughout the day and into the evening. Despite my disapproval, the liberating feeling of being on vacation made it hard to argue against their drinking. On the second day of our trip, I went for a walk near the resort, leaving behind my husband and Emma, who were eagerly enjoying some drinks. I was frustrated that our anniversary seemed to revolve around drinking, especially with his friend around, making it awkward to express my displeasure. While heading to a quaint coffee shop I found online, Emma called me, urgently asking me to come back to the resort. When I inquired about the emergency, she sighed heavily and insisted it wasn't something to discuss over the phone. Upon my return, Emma was waiting in the lobby and showed me her phone, revealing several photos of her and my husband in cozy poses. She explained that while she went to the bathroom after drinking, my husband stepped out to buy snacks, and she happened to scroll through her photos, finding the incriminating images. She had taken the pictures with trembling hands and then called me, unable to calm her anger. Furthermore, she discovered messages between them with terms of endearment, suggesting they met on a night she claimed to be working late. Recalling a sudden evening of overtime and a late return, it aligned with a day my husband mentioned stopping by a funeral for a high school friend's mother, likely their meeting time. We decided to quietly observe them without showing our suspicion. Throughout the rest of the trip, we maintained our schedule as if nothing was amiss. Despite the boldness of my husband and Emma, They were nothing more than a friend's spouse to each other, yet their act continued. Emma and I, who typically don't drink, made a pact on the third day to join them in their drinking, acknowledging our mistake in leaving them alone and deciding to watch what they discussed together. My husband was surprised but not pleased by my presence, though I firmly kept my seat by his side, as did Emma. Pretending to drink, we quietly observed them until they, feeling tipsy, claimed tiredness and retreated to their rooms. I then accessed my husband's phone, a device we had shared patterns with, but I had never felt the need to snoop on before, trusting him fully. Shockingly, it was filled with messages and photos Emma hadn't shown me nor had I seen. I saved all evidence to my phone and pretended to sleep next to him. As per a plan Emma and I had devised, she pretended to sleep on the living room couch, agreeing to document any evidence if they were to spend any moment together in the accommodation. While I feigned sleep next to my husband, he eventually woke up, fiddled with his phone, and stealthily entered the room where Emma was. Emma was pretending to sleep with the living room lights off, and I saw my husband leave the bedroom and enter the room where Emma was pretending to sleep alone. Both my husband and Emma firmly believed that their spouses were asleep, and sounds of love were heard from Emma's room. Emma and I were furious. It was then that Emma asked, "We can't just sit back and do nothing, right?" And I agreed. We even made noises on purpose so that my husband and Emma could hear us. My husband didn't come out of Emma's room until the next morning, and Emma and I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Catching our spouses cheating was bad enough, but finding myself in the same situation led to many thoughts. My husband and Emma were shameless. When I asked my husband why he came out of Emma's room, he laughingly said, "Honey, I must not have been sober. I went to the bathroom and must have entered the wrong room by mistake. Sorry, Emma." I was so angry at his audacity that I wanted to hit him. However, since I had also acted inappropriately, I was conflicted about how to resolve the situation, even as we returned to our normal lives. My trust in my husband was completely shattered. He began coming home late, drunk every other day, making all sorts of excuses like work dinners, meeting old friends, juniors, seniors, or the boss inviting him for drinks which he couldn't refuse. Emma and I started communicating daily, and I heard that Emma was also coming home late every day like my husband. My husband began using cash to avoid getting caught. Our marriage became distant. I didn't know how long Emma and my husband had been involved, but recently, the way he looked at me felt utterly contemptuous. I thought it was just a phase, that they both liked drinking, and it was just a mistake made over drinks. But it didn't seem to end. On a day my husband came home early for a change, I told him we needed to talk. After finishing the dishes one evening, I asked my husband, "Do you think this is the right way for us to live?" He responded with a shameless expression. "What's wrong with it?" I showed him screenshots of text messages and photos taken with Emma. I told him to end things with her and come back to me. My husband didn't say anything for days. No apologies, denials, or explanations. Emma had apparently had the same conversation with him around that time. A few days later, my husband came home drunk, crawling on all fours instead of walking upright. That night, he apologized to me for the first time about his meetings with Emma, but said it would take some time to sort things out. Fed up with his audacity, I declared I was going to live my life my way. and mentioned that I was also seeing Emma. Since we all knew each other, I suggested we might as well meet up and enjoy ourselves together. He was speechless when I told him he was the reason for my decision. That night, my husband left our home, and we are now separated. He's working at his family's business, and I've been comfortably meeting with Emma, who is also working at her family's company. I heard that my husband and Emma are not in contact. Everyone knows that separation often leads to divorce. It's heartbreaking to see how young men and women have come to such a pass. I'm still not sure whether to leave my husband for Emma